If there's one thing we've learned about business and life, it's that people are the X factor. They constantly surprise us, both in amazing ways and not so much. We're Ben and Syya, and welcome to the Gnaw on This Business Bites podcast. This show is all about real life things we all deal with every day, how they relate to business, and how to make some sense out of our daily chaos. Welcome to the show. And welcome back to another episode of Gnaw on This Business Bites. I'm Ben, and this is Syya. So here's a question for you. How are you creating opportunities in a challenging market? You know what? It's always a challenging market. There's always challenges. We are always living through some challenges. Some are large, some are small, some are micro, some are macro. But there's always challenges that we're facing. No, none of us have a perfect life. It could be a financial challenge. It could be new employees challenge. It could be losing an employee challenge. It could be something personal, whatever. There's always something in our life that's creating a challenge. And the question is, how do we recognize the challenge? And how do we be adaptable, resilient, and creative in order to move beyond that particular challenge, knowing there's another challenge around the corner that we haven't even addressed yet. So, Syya, let's gnaw on this.
So I'm cracking up because while you're talking, my dog is acting up and wanting attention.
Of course.
Which for me, my challenge is paying attention to you while this one's crying and whining at me. But it made me think at the same time, challenges will always occur. You're always going to have a problem. You're always going to have something that you're going to have to overcome, no matter how smooth sailing, how much planning you've done, how much preparation, all that stuff. And so I love this topic because where there's always a challenge, there's always opportunity, as we're talking about, right?
Absolutely.
And it's keeping that open mind to say, I have to go through this brick wall, right? But it's never just the brick wall, right? Maybe it's components of the brick mixed in with the mortar, right? That you look at it from an individual perspective, or you can even broaden it out to be like, well, how big is this wall? Could we just walk around the damn wall? Right. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the biggest thing is, are you curious? Are you curious to see for the bigger picture, the challenge that is presented to you? Because if you are, the odds are high that you're going to find some kind of solution for the task at hand. Mm-hmm. Not saying it's the best solution, not even saying it's the right or wrong solution, but you come up with a solution. And a solution is still better than no solution. So again, it kind of goes back to, you create those opportunities because your brain, your teamwork, if you rely on your team to help you accomplish whatever it is that whatever it is that you need in your space, at whatever that hump that you got to go over. So that's my answer to that is like, are you open? Because if you are, then you will inherently create an opportunity for whatever it is that you need to fix.
Well, I believe that you're going to come up with the best solution for you at that particular time, given the scenario that you're in. Whether it's the information you have, whether it's the money you have, whether it's the leadership that you have, whether it's the expertise that you have, whatever it is, you're going to come up with a solution that works for you based on the scenario that you're in. And 6 months from now, you says, "Oh, we should have done that." Well, yeah, 6 months from now, you might have more perfect knowledge or different opportunity, and that doesn't negate you from making that pivot at that point in time.
Right.
But to sit there and beat yourself up and says, "Oh, I can't believe we did that." Well, at the time, that might have been the best solution. And as you said, taking a solution, moving forward and doing something 9 times out of 10 or 98 times out of 100 is better than doing nothing. Sometimes the right decision is to do nothing.
Mm.
Sometimes the right decision is, you know what? We're really not sure. COVID, for example, the first few days of COVID, a friend of mine was sitting there going, I says, I'm calls me up and says, I may have to lay off my entire staff. And I sat there and said, okay, can you hold off 2 weeks? He says, yes. I said, good. Let's hold off 2 weeks. Let's find out, are there going to be government programs, or is there going to be some tax benefits? Is there going to be some changes in the in the social security, or EI, or one of those things that is going to be able to make this an easier and different decision? And we talked about it for over an hour. And he ended up holding off for 2 weeks. And you know what? It was better because he had more perfect knowledge 2 weeks from now. Now, if wasn't better knowledge 2 weeks ago from now, he knew what he had to do. He knew that there was a stop date and he was going to have to move forward at a certain time. But he had the luxury of being able to wait a couple weeks to see how things might pan out before, and gain a little bit more knowledge before he moves forward. Sometimes we have that luxury, sometimes we don't. Sometimes this is a scenario, this decision needs to be made, we need to move forward, fine, let's do it. And you realize 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years down the road, it might not have been the best decision, it might not have been the right decision. You have the ability to change at that point in time,
I
but
mean,
we
no,
need to be willing to sooner or later shoot the puck.
my
Back to my sports analogies.
well, yeah. Look, not all decisions are always going to be the best decisions, right
No,
decisions, etc. I mean, that's just we'd all be billionaires if that were the case, right?
absolutely. I would.
But having that again, that attitude that at any point in time you can stop that puck,
Hmm.
right? Because you might shoot real hard for that goal, but you end up just doing icing, right? Like, which is not what you want, right?
Right.
And sometimes you do have to stop it before it crosses the line to, I don't want to call it the point of no return, but before you done messed up so bad that you're like, oh, right, like, okay, because ain't no one want to do a multi-million-dollar mistake, right? No one
Right.
wants that. And even in the best intentions, you can still make a multi-million-dollar mistake and not even realize it, right? So, yeah, you got me on this hockey freaking tip here, Ben, and it's irking me, young man. It's irking me because I am trying my darndest not to go down that
Don't
path right
don't
now.
go down that path. Let's go back to, how do we create opportunities? Let's go back to how do we create opportunities, because I think that each and every single one of us have the ability to create opportunities. Some of them large, some of them small, but I think a lot of it comes down to the fact that we need to sit there and look at the glass as refillable. And I keep coming back to that. I keep coming back to the fact that refillable, that we need to be willing to take a risk. We need to be able to look at things and sit there and say, just because we've always done it this way doesn't mean that's the way we should do it now. We need to talk to our teams, talk to our advisors, talk to the people, our clients, people that matter, other stakeholders, and sit there and say, "Hey, what do you think? Is there something that we're missing in this situation, and how can we serve you better and be able to make this better for you?" Because when we make things better for our stakeholders, usually that turns things around, because
Yeah.
all of a sudden we've got partners in this, and people that are invested in our success.
I mean, so what you're really saying in that particular example is that partnership, I think, is the critical part, right?
Hmm.
Is treating that deeper relationship to dig deeper. Because again, I think we've mentioned this many times in previous conversations. A no is not always a no. A yes isn't always a yes, right?
True.
And I think finding all the stakeholders needed takes time and effort. And by doing that, you're creating those opportunities
Hmm.
to give additional reasons why they want to care about you, your service, your product, etc. So again, I think it goes back to what I've maybe maybe I'm just going to make 2026 a year of curiosity because
Great word.
I think it's a great word because it applies in so many different directions, right? Because if you're curious, you're going to identify opportunities very quickly.
Hmm.
You may identify new opportunities they don't even know they needed. And I think that that is the coolest part of it all. And I think that's why I'm loving this conversation because like, how do you do it? Ask the freaking questions. Listen. Listen for
Hmm.
the intent of listening, not listen for the intent of reacting, right? And that's easier said than done, people. We know. But I do think every day maybe to say it like I'm going to be curious about one thing today. Maybe. Maybe that's the active step to help us further down. And if anyone wants to do that with me, just DM me because I'm guilty of it. I don't get there are days where I'm just like I know it all and it's like no you don't know it all. You need to humble yourself a little bit there, sunshine. And I get humbled quite a bit. And even then, it's like damn it, Janet, you know? So,
I think the opposite side of that same coin is analysis paralysis.
oh, yeah.
People that live in a world of if it isn't perfect, I can't move forward. And they overthink everything. They ask everybody everything. They take everybody's opinion with equal weight, and it leads to a position of confusion to the point where you never move forward. And I think that we need to realize as leaders, as sooner or later, our job is to take information, take what we know, view what we perceive as reality, and make a decision to move forward. And realize you're not going to make everybody happy.
Yeah.
You're hopefully make the majority of the people happy. Hopefully, you're going to make this a win for the majority of the people. But unfortunately, you're never going to make everybody happy because let's say if it's for everybody, it's for no one.
100%.
So I think that we need to look at opportunities and sit there and say, sometimes as leaders, we need to take the unpopular decision and move forward and just sit there and say, look, this is where we're going. This is why we're going there. This is what we need from you. This is what we're trying to achieve together. This is what we're all going to achieve together as we move forward. And here's the ramifications of what happens if we don't move forward
Mm.
and be able to be that leader that says, let's go. And hope that you've built enough trust and reliability that people are willing to follow you. But we can't just sit there and analyze and overanalyze and chart everything to death and feel that we're doing something because we're analyzing.
Hmm.
No one ever got rich analyzing anything.
It's so funny as a build a parachute as you're jumping off the cliff type of personality.
Hmm.
It absolutely resonates with me. Although when I think of like my partner who is the opposite, not only is that parachute built, he's got like four other backup parachutes built up, you know,
And he's wearing three of them.
and he's wearing three, yeah, on each arm, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and knowing those personality types and knowing how they respond to it is also another thing to have opportunity to get them on your side. And that's a
Yes.
topic that I think you and I have been chatting about is like I've been really analyzing like personality types and really how to maximize the knowing the knowledge of certain personality types. So I think we should talk
Hmm.
about that because that goes back to communication. Again, being curious to know, building those deeper relationships to find is there an opportunity maybe there's some that you're in conflict with like my boyfriend is literally opposite like every MBTI he's the direct opposite but how are we best friends and I think it's because we've come to a middle ground of respect on a lot of things there's some topics we absolutely will not touch some that we do and I think that's where again understanding what those are creates opportunities to progress forward as well. I mean, God, we
Absolutely.
can keep talking about techniques and figuring things like out, but I'd love to hear from the people in the DMs how they create opportunities for themselves. Is it just constantly hustling and putting yourself out there? Is it, you know, doing a massive network push, you know,
Yeah.
handling, hand glad
Glad
handing?
hatting. Glad hatting.
glad handing. Um,
handling.
I'm really curious about that because, are you relying on your buddies to tell you? Are you paying for ads? I would really be intrigued to see how people are finding their opportunities. That's
Well, hopefully there's some strategy behind it. I mean, tactics alone lead you in a thousand different directions and not putting you on a path towards anything. You know, I'm a big believer, and we're getting close to landing this plane. Is that we need to have strategy. If we don't have a strategy, if we haven't said we're going here, this is why we're going there, and this is why what we're going to come up with, and here's the path. We do realize that what somewhere along the path we may end up having to go a little bit left, we may have to go right, we may have to go over, we may have to go under, we may have to go around. That's okay. But if we know what our path and our goal is, we can augment in order to get there.
yeah.
If we rely on a certain strategy and says, okay, we failed because the strategy was wrong. No, well, the strategy needed to be augmented along the way, and that's okay too. And I think that we need to have both strategy and tactics. We need leaders that communicate well, and we need leaders that listen.
Yes.
And I think that when we have all of that, we can create opportunities no matter the marketplace.
Ah, my
Shall we
friend,
leave it there?
I think we got to leave it there because otherwise we could keep going. You
All
know
right.
it. We can keep going. We know. We know.
We know. So I'm Ben,
I'm Sia.
and we'll see you soon.
Hey, hey, hey. Thanks for listening to another episode of Not On This Business Bites. If you liked what you heard, we most humbly ask that you like, share, and hit that subscribe button. If you want to communicate more effectively within your organization, contact Ben at IamBenBaker.com or me at BrilliantBeanMedia.com. We can help you build your community, brand awareness, and personality through digital content and podcasting. We cannot wait to hear from you. See you next week for another episode of Not On This Business Bites.